The EU is more vulnerable than the UK if Britain ends up walking away from the bloc without a free trade deal in place by the end of the year, a think tank boss has warned Brussels. And Robert Olds, director of the Bruges Group, has said the bloc simply cannot afford to lose access to Brexit Britain. Mr. Olds was speaking as both sides geared up for a crucial phase in the negotiations, with a fresh round of talks due to get underway on Monday. And with the UK's chief negotiator David Frost insisting earlier this week there was no prospect of an extension to the December 31 deadline, which will mark the end of the transition period, the pressure is on to strike a deal. However, with barely 7 months left and no sign of a breakthrough, the prospects of a no-deal outcome are looking distinctly possible. Mr. Olds, who is vehemently opposed to any idea of further delay, told Express.co.uk, "It's absolutely reasonable to suggest no agreement would be worse for the EU than it would for the UK. The German economy has had a lot of separate issues, as do a lot of other EU nations. The problems predated the coronavirus outbreak," Mr. Olds said, "but were now being exacerbated by the pandemic." He added, "They can't afford to be losing market access to Brexit Britain. They are in a very weak position and we know that. They are hoping Britain will extend the transition but, of course, that will not be an option quite soon. At some point, they are just going to have to sit down and negotiate in the best interests of their citizens." He predicted, "It will be another victory for Brexit Britain. We will say to them this is what your leaders want, and we are certain what most people in the UK want." Earlier this month Mr. Barnier described progress on an FTA as disappointing. He and Mr. Frost later exchanged terse letters in a clear indication of the gulf which the two sides are struggling to bridge. Mr. Frost said the EU's plan contains novel and unbalanced proposals which would bind this country to EU law or standards. He added, "What is on offer is not a fair free trade relationship between close economic partners, but a relatively low-quality trade agreement coming with unprecedented EU oversight of our laws and institutions."